Here with reaction, former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt. Reince, let's get your reaction. This is all they have. There's nothing positive they can run on, not a single thing. Now the question is, will this strategy of slander, smear, besmirchment, character assassination, will that work?
I don't think it's going to work at all, because I do think that the American people see that our economy is in the tank and gas is up, the border's not secure, but this is what they've got. And they have decided that since they have nothing, they've got ridicule. And as Alinsky, I've been following this thing since Obama. Alinsky has always, when he wrote his rules for radicals, he said that ridicule is man's best weapon, and that's what they're doing. They are targeting people, they are polarizing people, they're personalizing it, and they're going after Republicans with these insane attacks. And when you talk about fascism, put aside the fascism of Joe Biden through executive order, shutting Keystone Pipeline, shutting down the market, doing all the things he's done. When you talk about purging a party of disease, that sounds like fascist language to me. And you have these candidates out there. You talk about fascism. Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin running against Ron Johnson is talking about releasing 50% of the state's prisoners. Fetterman, your buddy in Pennsylvania, Sean, is talking about releasing 30% of the state's prisoners. It doesn't get any more wild than that. And finally, when Joe Biden comes to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, as nuts as that platform sounds, those two candidates didn't want to go by Joe Biden. You know why? Because he's unpopular, the economy's in the tank, and people know it.
Now, Charlie, if this election becomes about record high inflation, record high gas prices, record high prices for everything you buy and every store you go to, if it becomes about law and order and safety and security, if it's about education of our kids, if it's about all of these things and not about the ad hominem attacks and the name calling and the demonization of any conservative or Republican, I say Republicans win if that's what they run on. Now the question is, which side's going to win the narrative?
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right about that. And I think that is exactly why you have Democrats maligning and insulting half of the country every time they talk. And of course, there's nothing in the world that's more fascist than having a president calling half of the people he works for fascist or semi-fascist, or having the former First Lady talk about how our voters in this country, her political opponents who don't support her, are somehow a disease in this country. This is really sick language. This kind of effort to dehumanize people is what fascists do. So the only fascists here are Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. But you're exactly right. They have absolutely nothing to run on. They control every lever of power in Washington, both chambers of Congress and the White House. They could run the tables. They could do whatever they want. And what they have done so far has been to destroy the country. And you've gone through all of those important things, whether it's skyrocketing crime, gas prices, inflation, open border, misery around the world, terrorism taking a new route in places like Afghanistan. So they have nothing else to run on. But I think you're exactly right, Sean. I think, these things, people, it's not just conservatives and Republicans who want their families to be safe or want to be able to afford gasoline. Democrat voters want that too. And as long as Republicans remain laser focused on that and talk about the ideas that we all believe in and that Donald Trump talked about, then Republicans are going to walk away with this thing in 2 years, and Republicans are going to walk away even bigger, next month. They're going to walk away with it and then walk away even bigger, I think, in 2 years.
All right, so Reince, you had great success as the RNC chair. What do you tell people running for the House, running for the Senate? My understanding is next week that Kevin McCarthy will lay out his version of a contract with America, commitments to America. I like that idea. I like the idea that every candidate signs their name and makes a pledge to do certain things before they run. I would like the Senate candidates to do the same. What do Republicans need to do to keep the focus where it belongs?
Well, I agree with you, too. I think, number one, you got to tell people what you're for. I think a contract with America or a new contract, whatever he's going to call it, is brilliant, number one. Number two, you cannot let these candidates like Mandela Barnes and Fetterman and these folks get away with portraying themselves as something that they're not. They're on TV every minute telling people that they're mainstream, while at the same time they're talking about releasing prisoners, they're talking about defunding the police, and they're on the record talking about cashless bail, that people who commit violent crimes should not have to pay a cash bail in order to get out of prison. This is what the record is. So I think Republicans have to be relentless on what they're for, relentless on pointing out what their opponent is for, and then they need to tell their own story about their own lives and their own families and their own sacrifices. I think all of that together is important. Last thing, you got to focus on the ground game and the grassroots. You got to focus on absentee ballot, request forms, targeting people, turning out voters, and just obviously, like Lincoln said, have more ballots in the box than the other guy.
Do you feel the Republican Party has that technology? Are they prepared to compete with the Democrats on that level in terms of getting out the vote?
I do, Sean, and I think that we've also learned a lesson about voting and election integrity and not waiting until after the election to do something about it. And I think that's one of the things that's changed over the last couple of years.
Charlie, we'll give you the last word.
Yeah, the most important thing, they have to focus on personal security, crime, and the economy and the border. And if Republicans focus on those three things and hit these people as hard as they can about the fact that they have been for open borders, no bail, lawlessness, they've supported the riots for 2 years, as long as Republicans stay on that, I think that they're going to have a good day in November.
All right, Charlie, thank you. Reince, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.